Hey there, this is Katherine Cartwright. Welcome to the ScrapbookPal channel. I hope that you are a subscriber. If you aren't, you need to subscribe. There's so much great content over here. This is from Honeybee Stamps. Both of these products I'm going to be sharing. These are called the Perfect Potions Shaker Jars. There are 12 dies that let you make these adorable jars. And they have the little cork toppers and everything you could think of. And then this set is called Hocus Pocus. And it's got a lot of fun sentiments for your Halloween cards. So let's go ahead and get started. I pulled out a piece of this paper, pattern paper from my craft stash. It's just a spider web. The background was white and I wanted to soften that a little bit. So this is how I'm going to do this. I'm taking some black soot, distress ink, and I'm just rubbing it all over my paper. And I'm not thinking too hard about where exactly it needs to go. I'm just covering the whole thing, and I'm not making one section darker than the other. I'm just kind of giving it one coat, and then it is how it is. So, and then I'll let that dry, and that's going to be the background paper. I wanted to use that paper, but it was just a little too bright, so I decided to soften it up that way. Okay, so now let's get to the shaker part of this, the dies, the Perfect Potions. So I'm just showing you that there is a base layer of the die, and then the green one on camera, that is the top layer that allows you to create these shakers. I've gone ahead and cut a few of them. And then they're also the little tops of the jars and these adorable cork stoppers. They're so realistic. You can see they've got the little indentations in them and they cut beautifully. Just a lot of fun. So to add a little bit to these jars, the back of them are going to be white. And then the front layer, I've gone with a trio of purple, green, and an orange. Those are some of my favorite combinations for Halloween cards. I like to add the purple in as well. So I'm just taking some of my Katherine Pooler inks here with a little blending brush, and I'm just going to kind of rub around the edges to add a little bit of interest and dimension to my jar. It just kind of jazzes it up a little bit, and I like to do this sometimes when I have just a plain die cut. You could also use pattern paper for these. That would be a great choice as well. But I'm just going to keep going around and I'm ink blending. I've got Tutti Fruiti, Garden Party, and this last one, Pixie Dust. And they are just great colors that work with this cardstock that I selected. So I'm just kind of moving this around so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm not thinking too much about it. And I don't mind if it's a little uneven or kind of rustic looking, because I'm making some spooky kind of jars. So I'm just keeping it however it ends up being, and it looks great. Okay, so I'm going to let those dry, and while they're drying, I'm going to darken up my cork pieces. I cut them from some craft color cardstock, and I am going to take some of my distress ink here and just kind of run around the edges. Again, it has that beautiful little indentations in them, just a lot of details. And you can see, you'll see a little bit later in the video, a little more close up, the cork has the little, like a real piece of cork has all those little holes in it. So very, very cool. Again, a lot of attention to detail. All right, I've gone ahead and cut some acetate sheets that I had. I like to add a piece of cardstock underneath to help it kind of bite into that acetate. I find sometimes that it doesn't cut completely. So having a little shim of cardstock helps that process a good bit. And then I don't have to do any trimming. Sometimes I've done it before and I couldn't get it to cut, and so I'd have to hand cut it. So adding that shim has made a big difference for me. Now to the fun part of putting these together. I've got my 3 jars. I'm going to add some glue to the back of them, and I'm going to begin my shaker jar by adding my piece of acetate, and then I'm going to let that dry. So I'm just going to put that piece down and smush it in there, and then I'll continue that process on my other 2 jars. I love the shape of these. They're a lot of fun. I would love, I'm going to use some labels later on another card. And I hope that maybe Honeybee would consider one day bringing out some other labels besides Halloween. I think you could use these for a lot of fun things. So anyway, but I'm going to use the Halloween ones in a bit. All right, after those are dry, I'm going to take some foam strips here and pop up all around, add that foam to pop up on my shaker bit. And so I've gone ahead and done a couple of these, and I'm just showing you this last one off camera. You can use whatever foam pieces you like to use to create the lift that you need to have the shake in your shaker. And I'm going to do the top part here, and then I will get those ready. And again, I'm leaving my background white. You could use pattern paper, you could stamp something in there, but I wanted you to be able to see what I'm going to put inside. All right, so now I'm going to build the inside of my shaker. I've got some little diamonds from my craft stash in purple, orange, and green. I've got some little confetti that I've had for years and years and years. So this is a fun way to use up some of your little goodies. You could use seed beads, the little seed beads, or some small sequins. I don't know. I think large sequins would fit, but I didn't try them. But for that little jar, the little tiny jar, the medicine jar, I would probably want to use some little sequins on that. And then you could use the larger ones in your larger shaker. So I've got some little confetti here that's kind of a platinum silver color that I thought worked well with the others. And this one has some stars and moons. And so I'm just kind of filling these in, and I'm going to leave my edges open, obviously, because that is where I want my foam piece to go. And I'm going to start by layering this at the bottom after taking off all the strips of adhesive for the foam, the backing. And you can see that I've got some good shake there. And then I'm going to repeat this process with my other two. I'd love for you to leave me in the comment. Let me know if you have a favorite jar, which one of these three you like best. I think the little medicine jar, the little, like the pill bottle, I guess I should call it, might be my favorite. But it's hard to say. It's hard to choose just one. But leave me a comment and let me know if you have one you like best. And I'm going to repeat the same process again, just making sure that I don't have any of my little shaker pieces on the edge, so I get a good adhesion with my foam to my cardstock. And there, I've got a little shaker going on. Lots and lots of fun for the recipient who's going to get this card. Now I'm going to take those cork toppers, the stoppers that go in the bottle. I love the way that this looks. So I'm going to apply each one to each of the bottles. So there's one that goes with each one. And then I will come back after I get this third one glued down. And I will add a kind of gray piece of cardstock is what I chose. And this will fit perfectly on each jar. And it just makes it so realistic. I love all the details that they added to this set. And I'll repeat this process, just matching them up with the correct jar and then layering on that. So it gives that dimension that I've put my cork into my bottle. And you can make those corks any color you wanted to. Again, lots of variety and flexibility with a product like this, because you could use pattern paper, you could use markers and color them, Copic, if you wanted to add some kind of detail or design. So there's just a lot of flexibility. All right, I'm going to prepare a label for my card. I'm using the Layering Vintage labels. They are super cool. You get an A2 sized piece there that I just showed you. And then there are a bunch of smaller dies. So the biggest die is a frame, and it has that largest label in the center. So I am in love with that. I cannot wait to continue to use that for a couple more projects. All right, so I'm going to pick Your Poison is the stamp that I chose that I thought was appropriate for this card. And I'm going to add a little bit of ink that is left on my brush that I use to brush onto my bottle, my jar, and just to add a little bit more detail on there. All right, so now I'm ready to assemble. I'm going to add my altered piece of pattern paper to a piece of orange cardstock. Then I'm going to add it to green, and I'm going to have a black card base. And this card is A2 sized, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 is the finished card size. So perfect for all of the mailing needs. All right, I've got a little bit of foam tape, and I'm deciding if I want to pop these up, but I'm just going to end up gluing them directly to my cardstock. And I'm just going to add some glue on there and pop that first one down, and then I'll layer my other two beside it. And so you've got a fun detail with those jars that are shaking, that whomever is going to get this will have a good time checking out the bottles. All right, I've got that green one down, and then I'll finish up with the little orange pill bottle. And then the last step will be to add my label on there, and I'm going to add just a little piece of foam that will pop it up to about the same height as my jars. So they're really quick, pretty quick and fun and easy to make these little shakers, and a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to share with you another card here that I made off camera. When I was cutting out my jars, I noticed the shape, was left behind, and I decided to make a mask and a stencil basically. So I took that largest jar and I stenciled that. I used some distress ink on there, and then I also cut out from that same shape out of some masking paper. You could use a sticky note here, or some kind of paper that will adhere and remove, temporarily from your paper to cover up. And so I did that with the blue one, and then I covered it up and I stenciled on my pink jar and my purple jar. You can see I added the labels. Those are the Halloween potion labels, and stamps and dies on that. So I stamped that out and then added that to my jar. And of course I added a sentiment. I put a spell on you. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this set. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure to subscribe to ScrapbookPal. I'll see you next time. Have a great day.